Just give it the green light. There's one empty chair. Okay, good morning, still good morning, and welcome to our side event organized by Vienna NGO Committee on Drugs and with several partners and co-sponsors. We have, I would say, a huge list of speakers, so it's better for me to shorten my introduction as much as possible. I'm Matej Kushir, current chair of Vienna NGO, and I will moderate this side event on harnessing multi-stakeholder partnerships to advance joint drug policy commitments. I just want to say some short words about the purpose of this side event and the whole story in the background. We started so-called Impact Coalition on the future of drug policy last year in May in Nairobi. We established it together with several partners, with New York NGO Committee on drugs, with American Coalition on drug policy, with African Civil Society Platform on drugs, and several other, especially some member states joined our efforts to showcase, I would say, good examples of collaboration between different stakeholders. Because we as a civil society, we really don't want to work in isolation. The same is for member states and academia and all other stakeholders. And we think that for better drug policy, we need to collaborate with each other as many stakeholders together as possible. So the purpose of Impact Coalition is actually to show that this collaboration is possible and could be really effective at the global level, at national level, regional level, and we have several speakers today which will definitely present some of these good examples of collaboration and multi-stakeholder collaboration in the field of drug policy. So we will start with some opening remarks. So I would like to give the floor first to Mirela Dumar-Frahi, from head of the UNODC Civil Society Unit, to address as a first speaker today. Thank you.
Thank you, Matej. It's always a great pleasure to be able to co-sponsor an event organized by the Vienna NGO Committee. I'm really pleased to be here with so many of you, all friends and representative at this 68th session of CND, which even in a very difficult time for multilateralism, it is crowded. I think we have numbers more than ever, over 1,000 representatives, and from the NGO community, I know that over 550 have registered. So it means that still people believe that you can do something at the multilateral level. Yes, Matej, you mentioned the Impact Coalition. We wanted to make sure that the issue of drug and drug policy could go to the Summit of the Future. Therefore, we've organized jointly this Impact Coalition during the Civil Society conference in Nairobi, which was meant to for give the voice of NGOs to the Summit of the Future. I know you were also able to go to New York and organize another event, which was not in the official part, but still with creativity, you insisted and you made it. And even if drug policy are not really on the agenda, were not on the agenda of the summit of the future, but we know that drug continue to kill and create suffering for many. And therefore, it is important that we continue together to make sure that the Sustainable Development Goal, which tackles somehow the issue of drug from different perspectives, whether when we speak about health, Goal 3, or the gender issue, or Goal 16, which is about strong institution, because it's important to have an inclusive society, and Goal 17 about partnership. Therefore, it's important that we continue to work together to create a holistic and integrated approach to drug policy that address health, gender, and partnership. So I will be brief because there are many speakers, and excuse me if I will have to leave before the end of the session, but we have to continue to work together to strengthen our partnership, to leverage our collective expertise, and work towards a future where drug policies are inclusive, and aligned with the 2030 agenda of sustainable development. So let's work together and not against each other to promote this very important value and make an impact on society. Thank you.
Thank you, Mirela. Great opening remarks, and mentioning also the side event we organized during the action days of the Summit of the Future in New York, in very exclusive location at the top of the Chrysler building. It was really, I would say, even better than organizing it within the UN building. So we were extremely happy to be there, and actually it was really quality discussion and very quality event for all civil society present, also in a hybrid format. So many of civil society organizations were able to join us online as well. So next, I would like to give the floor for opening remarks to our great colleague from New York NGO Committee, Nazli Maksudi. So please, Nazli, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Mate. Hello, everybody. As mentioned, my name is Nazli Maksudi, and I'm chair of the New York NGO Committee on Drugs. The NYNGOC is a substantive committee of the Conference of NGOs in Consultative Status with the UN, or the Congo, and we've supported civil society in engaging with the UN since 1984. I'm so happy to be co-sponsoring this event and so grateful to all of our fellow speakers and organizers today. So over the past 4 decades, we've worked to ensure that civil society participation in international drug policy proceedings is robust and strong. Recently, we were really happy to work with our strong partners, the Vienna NGO Committee on Drugs, as equal partners for all activities surrounding the 2024 midterm review of the CND, which was, of course, just last year. And we jointly published a global civil society report, which was an important input for the midterm review, but also beyond. Since then, we were pleased to establish jointly, as mentioned, the Impact Coalition on the future of drug policy, and I'm so happy that that's part of our discussions today. We've already heard some about that. I wanted to flag our global civil society report in case some folks were not aware of it, but also because it's really an excellent basis that we can draw from for civil society perspectives that are relevant to the topic of today's event. Looking ahead to the high-level political forum, or the HLPF, in July of this year, there will be a review of SDGs 3, 5, 8, 14, and 17. Now, drugs, of course, only explicitly appear around SDG 3 on good health and well-being, but our report really identified a wide variety of SDGs where drugs and drug policy issues are relevant. I'll focus just on a couple of those that are upcoming for the HLPF this year. One of those, of course, that Mirela also mentioned is SDG 3 around gender equality. And that's really relevant when we consider the attention that's been given around mainstreaming a gender approach, and also considering the increased challenges that are faced by women who use drugs, limited access to treatment and health services, as well as gender-based violence and heightened stigma. As well, I'd like to note that it was rightfully articulated by the UN System Coordination Task Team on the Common Position on Drug-Related Matters around SDG 8 on decent work and economic growth that is also relevant because low social development has been shown to increase the risk of being involved in drug-related crime as well as drug use. So member states have repeatedly acknowledged that efforts to achieve the SDGs and effectively address drug-related challenges are complementary and mutually reinforcing. Coherence across the UN system is so that drug policies and interventions do not undermine the UN pillars of human rights, peace and security, and development, as well as the 2030 agenda. In fact, a key issue that came up in our Global Civil Society report for the way forward was really about collaboration across the UN bodies to enhance coherence between the international drug control regime and international human rights obligations. And that's why we were just so happy and pleased to see the recent efforts to increase synergies, one such example being the reports of the Special Rapporteur on the right to health, particularly on drug use and harm reduction, as well as on harm reduction for sustainable peace and development, which is of course so relevant to our discussion around SDGs today. So in closing, I'll just say that the New York NGOC expresses serious concern about the shrinking civic space and really does urge member states to bring real world experiences and expertise to the table by ensuring that commitments to civil society engagement are followed by concrete action. And in this same spirit and really in alignment with SDG 17, which is on partnerships and is of course up for review at the HLPF this year, and with respect to some of the UN documentation that I mentioned from the Special Rapporteur and the Common Position, we really call on member states and UN agencies to fully and faithfully engage and prioritize civil society in all global proceedings that overlap with issues related to drugs and drug policy. So that includes the upcoming HLPF, as well as the Second World Summit for Social Development and beyond. I thank you so much for your attention.
Okay, thank you, Nazli. So yeah, we also have to highlight the importance of this midterm review report, because actually the whole idea of impact coalition and the side events and the topic of multi-stakeholder collaboration is based on one of the conclusions from the midterm civil society report. So yeah, thanks for a great opening remarks. Now we have a list of wonderful panel speakers. So first of all, I would like to give the floor to Grace Aliyu from Nigeria. She's present online. So please, Grace, the floor is yours. You're ready.
Yeah. Beautiful morning, distinguished guests, esteemed panelists, and honored participants. I appreciate the organizers of this event for the invitation to speak. It is both a privilege and responsibility to share my knowledge today as we collectively explore innovative and evidence-based strategies to advance drug policy commitments. The urgency of our task cannot be overstated. Substance abuse among youth is a global crisis, threatening our social fabric, economic stability, and the future of entire generations. Yet, in the face of this challenge, we have an opportunity to reimagine prevention through collaboration, creativity, and community-driven solutions. I am Oluwatosin Grace Aliyu, the founder of Crystal Clear Living Stream Foundation. I'm sorry, please, can you share my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
You can share your screen.
Yes, I sent it to you already. Please share from yours end. Okay, I'm the founder of Crystal Clear Living Stream Foundation. Okay, a non-profit that is focused on substance abuse prevention among youth using arts and crafts. We collaborate with the Ministry of Education to organize workshops in visual arts, textile design, beading, and bag making in schools. Mentorship sessions are also held where life skills, emotional resilience, and self-expression are taught. After these, exhibitions are organized to showcase the artworks to parents, teachers, policymakers, and community members. Each student explains the inspiration behind their works. Crystal Clear Living Stream Foundation partnered with the UNESCO unit of Kwara State Ministry of Education in Nigeria to commemorate the 2024 United Nations Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking with the theme, "The Evidence is Clear, Invest in Prevention." Let me share the outstanding story of a student who was disengaged from school, had low academic grades. His teachers had written him off as uninterested, but then something remarkable happened. When our art workshop was announced, he was the first to sign up. His excitement was palpable. He showed up early, stayed late, and poured himself into his artwork. On the exhibition day, he stood before the audience and unveiled a masterpiece that stunned everyone. More importantly, he saw himself differently. He realized that if he could create something of value, he could achieve anything. His confidence soared. He started engaging with his peers, taking his studies seriously, and for the first time, believing in his own potential. His grades improved, his self-esteem strengthened, and most critically, he stayed away from drugs. Here is the logic behind this evidence-based intervention. The input were the multi-stakeholder collaboration, which included the government, the civil society, educators, and parents, and also the materials that were used. The activities included the hands-on workshop, the mentorship sessions, and the exhibition. The outputs were increased student participation and school engagement, also strengthened social bonds between the students, teachers, and families, positive reinforcement from showcasing artistic achievements. The outcomes were improved self-esteem, reduction in risky behaviors linked to substance abuse, enhanced academic performance. The impact was a long-term shift in youth resilience, leading to reduced vulnerability to drugs, and also sustainable multi-sectoral engagement in prevention efforts. This model aligns seamlessly with Sustainable Development Goal 3, which is good health and well-being, and Goal 4, which is quality education, demonstrating how innovative multi-stakeholder partnerships can create tangible change. We cannot do this alone. Prevention thrives on collaboration. We need the government to provide essential policy frameworks and financial resources. International organizations should recognize and invest in alternative prevention strategies such as arts and crafts within global drug policy frameworks. Expanding best policies and practices from one region to another ensures sustainability. Civil societies should engage the grassroots and involve them in different activities. Also, the academia should contribute by generating evidences and advocating for informed policies. Private sector and philanthropic foundations should fund innovative prevention programs, recognizing that a drug-free youth population is an investment in a stable and productive workforce. The time for fragmented efforts is over. The time for action is now. There are millions of young people like the disengaged students whose futures hang in the balance. We can allow them to be swept away by the tide of addiction, or we can intervene early using the tools of creativity, community, and collaboration. Here are my recommendations. We should incorporate art-based approaches into national drug policies and also fund creative programs as evidence-based interventions. Also, collaborations should be built for sustainable impact. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you, Grace, for your contribution. As we are limited with time, we will proceed with the next panel speaker. And I would like to introduce Vesna Marinko, head of the General Director of Directorate of Public Health at the Ministry of Health. So my memory is
I know, Matej, for
interruption
15 years,
in my memory.
so okay.
So it will be okay. So Vesna, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Distinguished guests, colleagues, partners, it's an honor to speak today on the critical role of the multi-stakeholder partnership in advancing joint drug policy commitments in area where drug-related challenges transcend borders and sectors. Collaboration among government, civil society, academia, and the private sector and the international organization is more essential than ever. By leveraging diverse expertise and resources, we can create more effective, evidence-based and sustainable drug policy that prioritize public health, human rights and social development. Drug-related issues are complex and multi-phase, requiring a holistic approach that goes beyond each individual sector. Public health, social welfare, human rights, and economic development are all intricately linked to drug policy. Addressing these interconnections demands cooperation across multiple sectors, ensuring that policies are inclusive, balanced, and grounded in evidence. Without such partnership, all efforts risk being fragmented and ineffective. Slovenia prepared the new national program in the field of drugs for the period 2023-2030, which was endorsed by the National Assembly in 2023. The program underlines the importance of coordination in this area and strengthens a multi-sectorial and multidisciplinary approach and intensified cooperation with non-governmental organizations. Our vision is to build a society where everyone in need has unhindered access to services and programs that empower them to live independently and be fully included in the community. The program supports further development of all relevant activities for improvement of health and social well-being for all. Governments alone cannot design and implement comprehensive drug policy. Collaboration with civil society organizations, research institutions, and effective communities ensures that policies are inclusive, science-based, and respectful of human rights. Schools, families, healthcare providers, and the community organizations must work together to provide accurate information and early prevention programs. Multi-sectoral engagement strengthens preventive measures, equipping young people with the knowledge and skills needed to make informed choices. Access to evidence-based treatment and rehabilitation services is a fundamental aspect of human and effective drug policy. Partnership between governments and NGOs and healthcare providers can extend access to harm reduction services, psychosocial support, and reintegration programs. Continuous assessment of drug policy and their impact is essential. We have witnessed the power of partnership in action many times in the past. For example, the Slovenia public health-oriented approach to drug policy, developed through collaboration between policymakers, health professionals, and experts from the NGO sector, has significantly reduced the drug-related harms. All previous drug policies have been drafted in close cooperation with the civil society leaders. The current national program in the field of drugs places a strong emphasis on coordination and collaboration with all stakeholders. Furthermore, in my country, cooperation between prevention experts from the NGOs, especially Matei, and researchers with the support of UNODC led to adoption of the CND resolution on promoting comprehensive science-based prevention in 2022. Our joint efforts have led to significant progress, starting with the adoption of a resolution that laid the foundation for key initiatives. One notable outcome is the CHAMPS initiative, which is playing an important role in fostering international cooperation and best practices in drug prevention. Additionally, Slovenia has strategically prioritized early prevention at policy level, embedding it into national strategies to ensure a long-term evidence-based approach. These achievements underscore the power of multi-stakeholder collaboration in shaping effective, forward-thinking drug policy. Slovenia is committed to promoting human and effective drug policies on a global scale. To fully harness the potential of multi-stakeholder partnership, we must commit to the following: strengthening trust and communication among all stakeholders, ensuring the active participation of affected communities in policy discussions, promoting data-driven and evidence-based approaches, and expand the international cooperation to share best practices and lessons learned. In closing, the complexity of global drug challenges requires an inclusive, collaborative, and human-centered approach. Multi-stakeholders partnerships are not just beneficial, they are imperative for achieving meaningful progress in drug policy reform. By working together, we can build policies that are effective, just, and rooted in principles of public health and human rights. Thank you.
Thank you, Vesna, for a great presentation and also mentioning our excellent collaboration, especially in relation to this mentioned CND resolution, which was a great achievement, not just for Slovenia and for civil society organizations in Slovenia, but I believe that for everybody, for the global society, and especially for prevention society, prevention community as well. And we see the outcomes already, some results out of this resolution, especially in CHAMPS initiative. And it will continue for sure. There are another prevention-related resolution in discussion at this CND, which will even put the prevention in a more spotlight in the future, hopefully. So thank you very much. We have another speaker, and I'm really glad to give the floor to Marisa Perello from Společnost Podane Ruce. I have a strong history with her organization. I remember many years ago, it was our first European project together with this Czech NGO. So we are very well connected, historically connected.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad when I heard that you're coming, I said, perfect, excellent. So the floor is yours. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Mathieu, for the lovely introduction. Thank you all for attending this event. It's an honor to be here. My name is Marisa Perello, and as mentioned, I represent Společnost Podane Ruce. I am the head of international cooperation, and Podane Ruce is the largest NGO in the Czech Republic. Very small country, with a large NGO that has great impact. We've been working for over 30 years. Now, I started this presentation with this unusual picture because I thought, well, the concept of fulfilling joint commitments is not just in addiction policy. It affects all of us, but it's really in every aspect of our lives. This represents a figure skating synchronized team. Just anecdote is two of my daughters are in that picture. But anyway, I was thinking for them to fulfill the joint commitment of this team, which is to win a competition, there is the skaters have to be involved. The multiple stakeholders from very different backgrounds, skaters, health professionals, nutritionists, parents. So this is also the case with us when we want to advance policies, when we want to change what is happening. A cooperation, global cooperation of all important stakeholders is essential. The next slide. I found, as I was also looking through the, okay. Oh, thank you. Yes, the big one. I found this very wise African proverb. And I was thinking why this topic matters to all of us. And this is really relevant because if we go together, we will get much further than if we go alone. That's very much the case of the Czech Republic. The Czech Republic and Podana Ruce themselves, they've been working since 1987. Communism was until 1999, when drugs didn't exist. If anybody used drugs, they went to prison automatically. And then these NGOs started infiltrating the scenario, the discussions. I'm going to present to you a little bit the Czech model. It's not an ideal model, it's gone a long way. Some things can be learned, some things can be dismissed. So it's up to obviously each person present to decide themselves. So this is the Czech model. Before 2010, the Czech Republic didn't have an integrated addiction policy framework. It didn't. So what we had was, I've got some notes here, alcohol and tobacco were under public health, and then illegal substances were under criminal justice. There was no mentioning of gambling or digital addictions. Today, there is this integrated approach that brings together all addictions. So it includes gambling, it includes alcohol, tobacco, obviously, and digital addictions, which is very much on the table these days. The second element, I would say, structured planning. It has two sides. So there is this long-term planning, which is the national strategy, 9-year national strategy, and the 3-year strategic action plan. So brings together this short-term and long-term decision-making, deciding on policies and on services. One element which has come a long way, very difficult has been, is NGO participation. From the very first moment, the first national drugs coordinator was Pavel Bem, who became the mayor of Prague for many years. But he's basically a doctor. He opened the first contact center, needle exchange and harm reduction services in Prague. He became the first national drugs coordinator. So for him it was essential to have NGOs having a say in the whole national strategy development. Since that moment until today, there's been 8 national drug coordinators, and 6 out of the 8 come from either social services or medical backgrounds. This type of professional, interesting voices that need to be incorporated in the strategies. So that's the NGO participation. Also, the NGOs from the very beginning are part of the Government Council for Drug Policy Coordination. I had to write this down, it's not a word. The other element, which is very, I don't think is new to European NGOs, is that is very much evidence-based, is focused on harm reduction. There's been also a lot of discussion and moving forward to have abstinence as just one element in the whole context of dealing with addictions, with harm reduction being at the center. One example is Podana Ruce. Nothing new in Europe is the drug consumption rooms. I know Switzerland was the pioneer and many countries are doing them, but the first drug consumption room was opened by Podana Ruce, by my NGO in Brno, in our city, the city where I work. And this, I can guarantee you, you needed so much cooperation between law enforcement, local government, legal representatives, because they were telling us we're breaking the law, and the police at the door threatening to arrest our staff. So a lot of cooperation was there, and we succeeded, which was good. And then the fifth element that I put there is that it's built on 4 pillars: prevention, treatment, harm reduction, and regulation. Is an area that has become very relevant today in the Czech Republic. We have in December of last year a law on psychomodulatory substances such as kratom, very novel approach in regulating substances. I've heard from colleagues who are dealing with these laws. By July, they're going to have the specific list of drugs and how they need to be regulated. So that's to do with that. So let's move on. Now, I'm not telling you anything new, but what is the impact when we work together? There's better coordination. There's more effective prevention. So there's not so much emphasis on getting people to prison, but prevention. And there's also balanced data-driven approach. Data was mentioned here, evidence-based is a topic that we talk about all the time. We need to mention it over and over again because it is essential to develop whatever service, whatever policy we are developing. I'm not using the word develop, but it's important. So that's that. And let's see. Still, there are obviously some barriers and some challenges that we need to address, not just ourselves, but I would say at European level. From our point of view in the Czech Republic, we still see that EU policies are fragmented. They separate legal drugs and illegal drugs and legal substances. So maybe there is a need to maybe I'm linking the opportunities and the barriers there. There's a leak or an opportunity to develop a more unified addiction policy approach. Lack of investment in prevention, still too much. Not too much. I don't have statistics, so if I say too much, it's probably academically totally incorrect. But there's many resources focused on repression, not enough resources focused on or invested in prevention and harm reduction. And maybe in the long term, it would be interesting. I'm sure there's many analyses that look at if we put somebody in prison, how much the person cost society, and how much the person would cost if we invested in harm reduction and in a good prevention program activities for this person. And stigmatization of users. I'm sure that's totally not new for anybody who works in an NGO. Users are seen as criminals, they are ill. That we need to work on that a lot. We are trying to work on that also, our organization very much. Areas to opportunities, I mentioned a couple already, and also what we are dealing here with is to emphasize or put a lot of effort on these multi-stakeholder partnerships. I think it's a challenge, is an invitation at the same time, and an opportunity for everybody involved in this field of work. And again, we keep saying it, but it's not bad to keep saying it. Use data, technology for better policy making. It's important to know what's happening, to be realistic about what's happening, so we can develop proper policies and proper services for us, for NGOs, really. Conclusions and takeaways. It's a little bit what I've just said, so it's like repetition, but I like that round diagram that I found, which is important, is collaboration, reflection, and decision. They go hand in hand when we move forward in implementing a unified policy, in strengthening collaboration, in increasing investment, or deciding how we're going to increase the investment in prevention. Getting rid of this stigma, treat addiction as a public health issue, not as a person who needs to be put into prison because he's of course, a person who uses drugs can be a problem for society, but the solution is not necessarily prison. We've got to look at other alternatives. And I put that last sentence, but that's being a little bit arrogant by putting that there. But there are some elements maybe of the Czech model that could be used, like we can learn from Slovenia, from any other country, from Italy, from any other country. We all need to learn from each other. And to conclude, I really did like this. I started with a little sentence, with a little proverb. Now we have Einstein here. But change, many people, it's scary. I always say, oh, change is good. Change is difficult, but it's good. And I read that it's a measure of intelligence. So for us, it's a challenge to change, to move forward and to start cooperating together. And the non-government sector is ready to be a strong partner in this transformation. Thank you very much for your time.
Marisa, thank you for your contribution. And it's also important to highlight that Marisa was actually appointed by Czech government to speak here. So it shows really a great collaboration between civil society and the government in this case. So Thank you very much to Jerzy is here. I saw him.
Thank you.
He was moving around. So yeah, thanks to Czech government to appoint a civil society representative to speak on behalf of Czechia here at our side event. This is great. So we have another speaker from Nigeria, but he's not present here. Is he available online? No, we were trying to get in contact with them. So we have to skip this presentation. And I would like to give the floor to another representative of civil society, Paulo Biesan from Acura, NGO from Brazil.
Yeah.
So Paulo, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Matthew. Thank you, everyone. It's really a great pleasure to be here. I would start to say sorry for my bad English sometime, for my accent. So I'm trying to read some things and try to explain something also. Okay, so we are partnering for our association in Brazil that's called Acura. It's a civil association for the patient. We produce medicines from the cannabis and dispense for these patients without any limitation. So the movement in Brazil was not, the change there has not been done by the state, has been done by the civil society. So what I believe in, what we believe in Brazil is in global view, it's especially in cannabis, world cannabis supply for the patient, is when the executive powers and the legislative powers who made our laws don't do nothing to care about the patients. We need to get together and fight for it on the court. So that was the movement that we did there, and that's the movement that we are trying to show for you. That's a really possibility, but it's really needed. For be successful, this project, we need to really take care about the multi-sectorial partnership as we're present here. So how do cannabis association system and how Acura operate? How I explain for you, we passed for a time that's very risky for our existence. For example, we have here, just for to show, we have here a committee from Brazil for another association called Cannabis Sem Fronteira. You have here one leader that has arrested sometimes for provided medicine for the patient, for children, for cancer patients, for Alzheimer's patients, for thousands of patients. So it's very important for us to get this authorization for the court to really get together with all the stakeholders. So patients, families, for sure, the patients and the families are the base of all the work. The healthcare professionals, so we need the doctors for prescribe the medicine for the patients, the dentists, the psychologists, the biologists, for sure also the lawyers, the activists, the civil society, to really think about how do this in the correct way. And I will give an example. We have here Almaita Farid from Inquad, that's a big leader on cannabis field, and also think about how to do this in France, for example, because the supply for the patients there is really restricted. And it's very embarrassing for me when I realized that we have the same pathology in all the world, but different access for a natural substance that can heal a lot of people. So I will pass. Or I can pass it. Okay. One on back. Okay. So it's not the best slide, but how you can see, we treat there a lot of disease. One of each name is one of disease that we really have there for one patient. And we are a very small association. We're not one of the biggest associations from Brazil. So it's important for me to say also we're not alone. We're not any hero there. It's one part of a revolution that's happening there. And they're glad for the life to have opportunity to share with you about it, because we really believe this can change their community. So as you can see, you have a lot of diseases that are treated by the patient. And normally what you hear in all the movement that you do in the countries and talk with special people like you, is that we don't have all the studies, we don't have all the scientific research to say about all the disease and how this can help, how the cannabis can help the patients. But what we're facing, what we're really realizing, it's the most important thing is the evidence of the results tell it us for the patients. So if you have a child, and Mateo, sorry, not you, but you have a child with some disease that the scientific says, oh, it's not good for use cannabis. But you really see that your child gets better in your mood or get better in anything. That's the most important part for us. That's the part that you come to the court and say, look, you have some constitutional rights and you need to fight for it. And you really get some advancement. And I think this can be a model to change some part of law of some countries, because the force of the patient is really, really strong. And the rest, the limitation is really, really embarrassing. So just very quickly, you have some alignment from the objectives, the global objective from United Nations, especially the SDG 3, good health and well-being, ensure democratic access, the SDG 10, reducing inequalities, and the SDC 17, partnership for the goals. And so I don't have many time, but if anyone want to think about it, I'm open to talk. But it's really, really, really important to this strategy because it's really risky. It's really important to be really serious. It's really important to be transparent. It's really important to be ethical. Really improve your ethical process in your team, because you cannot. It's a very limited line to stay when you work with that. So it's very risky and very important to be really serious and take care about the ethics of the team. So these are some photos that are done there. We're doing also some social movements, foods, vêtements, clothes, and we do a lot of pro bono dispensary for the patients, especially for the vulnerable part of the society that don't have money to buy it. So we give by free for them or for reduced price. There are other photos that you can see. And finally, we have some challenge and some opportunity that I want to share for you. The challenge for sure, the financial sustainability, because as we start very small and in a risk, in a gray area for all, we need to be very slow in your growth. We can't do a very big growth or a very big number of patients. So especially also because we are not profitable, so we don't have any profit to take it. So it's really slowly to grow up. It's also challenge the lack of clear regulation, the social stigma. So it's very normal, very common in Brazil that someone that started to build association for the patients was totally judged for the family and actually sometimes need to change all their life because that's for a huge social stigma. And also it's very common there that after getting the authorization for the court, after they show the patients are get better, all the family change also. All the family accepted this stigma falling down. So it's important also to take care about the risk of the criminalization. So how we deal about it? We deal about strategy, we deal improvement or quality about our ethical process, because you can imagine that if you say you provide medicine for the patients beside the law and you're actually doing another thing, it's very risky. You for sure will be in danger. And opportunities, it's also the replication for this replication for other countries. I'm seeing here, I'm very honored to be here. I'm seeing the mishap of the Slovenia. So for sure, it's a possible model to be leaded for some association in any country that you wanted to do. For sure, we have also a great integration with the public health policy. And most important for me is the huge social impact that you really do in the society. So I was talking with Paulinho yesterday, and he said, Paulinho's a friend for me, and he said, Paulo, I cannot express what I feel when I saw a mother crying for me and say, this helped my child. So this is the real thing that you needed, and I wanted to show to you, not for me because I'm nothing, we are nothing, but to show for you as a possibility that you can do also in your community to plant some seeds. So it's examples of some medicine that you're looking for. We work with the weed, the flowers, the gold, we have pharmaceutical with us, we have all the type of workers, and almost all are doing this by free, including me. So it's really working for the patients. So many thanks for your listening, and I hope you get the point. If you have any point to discuss with me after, we'll be glad to be open for it. Merci.
Thank you, Paulo. As always, we all know that this medicinal use of cannabis is getting attention in many jurisdictions in many countries. So it is even more important that there is more stakeholders involved in these topics, including the governments and the national agencies for medicines and so on. So this is an area which needs multi-sectoral approach and attention by governments and by responsible institutions as much as possible. So it should not be just an issue for NGOs, but should be, I would say, a multi-sectoral approach used in this case as well. So thank you very much to all panel discussion speakers. So we now have some space for questions and contributions from the audience. So at least 1 or 2 minutes we can spend for, or 3 minutes. We are limited with time, but I think we can manage. Any questions or contributions from the audience? Yes, please.
Hi, Shane McCormack. I'm Garda Síochána, Ireland's police service. Just Marissa, I've been at many presentations the last few days and last year and the last 5 years. You're the only one that's mentioned the police. The police have a part to play. We are first at scene at the overdoses. We're first at scene at the trouble. We're first at scene at the person under the influence of drugs. And it has to work together. Police, justice, health, civil society, the public. So just I thought it was a point well made.
Do we have any other contributions from the audience?
I think probably let me say congratulations to our brother, particularly when you're looking at moving the civil society without complete buy-in from government. That is a model that, or an approach that I would want to be interested in terms of Ghana's situation, because we have a law that at least is also trying to give that medicinal component, but how you were able to do that, I think we'll be interested to share, and that's the reason why we are here for this platform. So thank you for being able to navigate through even without government's solid buy-in. That is what
Good. Thank you. So if there is no questions or contributions from the audience, we have also some. Do we have anybody online want to speak? Yeah, Carolina, it's your turn now. So we are getting close shortly to the end of this side event, and we have 2 speakers for the closing remarks. And first, I would like to give the floor to Carolina Ahmuda from Intercambios and also from American Coalition on Drug Policy. So please, Carolina, the floor is yours for your part of closing remarks. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madek. So the American Coalition on Drug Policy is a coalition of networks, NGOs, and civil society organizations working on issues related to the use, cultivation, production, and trade of substances considered illicit. The coalition's goal is to foster an informed public debate that promotes non-punitive policies grounded in scientific evidence to address the diverse problems associated with drugs. It advocates for drug policies that prioritize human rights and adopt a public health approach. In a globalized world, the logic of prioritizing care for some while neglecting others, or elevating some while leaving others behind simply cannot stand. No one is saved alone. When we consider our priorities, especially in health, this must be focused on care, inclusion, and solidarity, not punishment. In Latin America, we have a long-standing and rich history of civil society participation, where policies are co-created by governments and the communities most affected. This inclusive approach has been essential in shaping health interventions that ensure no one is left behind. It is vital that we continue to address stigma and discrimination, strengthening our efforts through truly inclusive policies. As Nasli highlighted before, member states have repeatedly recognized that efforts to achieve the SDGs and address drug-related challenges are inherently interconnected. Ensuring coherence across the UN system is essential to ensure that drug policies do not undermine the core pillars of human rights, peace, security, and development. Last year, Intercambios led the Americas consultation to contribute to the Global Civil Society Report, an important resource for the midterm review and beyond. One of the main challenges highlighted by NGOs in the Americas is the persistent non-compliance of drug policies with international conventions and human rights standards. The lack of a systematic mechanism to address this issue remains a significant barrier, particularly when it comes to protecting the rights of people who use drugs and ensuring their access to harm reduction services. On another matter, we must also acknowledge the harsh reality that the loss of PEPFAR funding has compounded the challenges already faced by many countries, but it's equally important to recognize the decisions made by several governments in the region to shift the responsibilities of the states and cease supporting civil society programs. This is not merely a financial setback, it is a direct threat to lives. The backbone of harm reduction services, community organizations, and peer workers are the hardest hit, and these decisions cannot be justified. We reaffirm our commitment to placing equality and non-discrimination at the center of drug policy. By acknowledging the progress made, addressing the challenges ahead, and charting a course for the future, we can build a more just and equitable society where the rights of all people are defended and respected. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carolina. And we have another representative of regional civil society infrastructure from African Civil Society Platform on Drugs, and also representing African Network of People Who Use Drugs, Ahmed Said. So please, the floor is yours to give the final closing remarks.
Thank you so much, Chair, and indeed permit me to recognize the organizers of this side event, particularly considering the representation of African Network of People Who Use Drugs. As people who use drugs, we are really honored to be given this platform to share our experience, lived experience. I also want to acknowledge the Vienna NGO Committee on Drugs. I want to also recognize all other panelists, and also want to recognize in the audience Dr. Akinola from African Union as well. And indeed, as I've said before, and again, that the CND, the presence or the coming of the CND came up because of the presence of the people who use drugs. Were it not the presence of the people who use drugs across the globe, we wouldn't have something like CND. And we're really happy to say we are here to make sure, as we convene in this multi-sector stakeholder partnership, advancing commitment in policy, in harm reduction, we must also prioritize the inclusion of the voices of the people who use drugs, particularly in the landscapes of Africa, and in the global north and across the world. In many parts of Africa right now, the people who use drugs still face criminalization, stigma, stereotyping that hinder access for us to access health services and support. By actively involving the people who use drugs in policy progress, we not only uphold their rights, but also gain invaluable insight that creates more accurate, comprehensive understanding challenges faced by the people who use drugs. This inclusion foster trust, stakeholder ensuring that not only effective, but also resonates with lived realities of those who are affected by the menace of bad policies. As I've said long and long ago, we don't have problematic drug use, but we have problematic policies that make people who use drugs social dysfunctional, economically disoriented, and even denial of the rights even for parental responsibility, and many others, and the many other pandemics of a high number of HIV, hepatitis C, and all those related diseases. By promoting harm reduction approaches that respect the autonomy of people who use drugs, which enhance public health and social justice, we need to consider that harm reduction not only talk about health, but it talks about the whole responsibility. As you see me here today in Vienna, I am a product of harm reduction. I am a product of multi-approach. I am a product of Vancouver Declaration that was made in 2006 by the activists from the people who use drugs. As I conclude, let me say by saying that we need to have inclusivity of different stakeholders. We need a balanced approach. For those who think treatment and rehabilitation is good, it should also be offered in a humane way. It should not be offered as a mode of punishment. And for us who are activists and proponents of harm reduction also should be allowed to give the people who use drugs the autonomy to make choice in different spec of. I believe people need treatment, but not everyone who uses drugs need treatment. Not everyone who uses drugs has a problematic substance drug use. By finishing, in terms of legal and policy reform, let's have comprehensive legal and start addressing the outdated punitive laws that have been impact and neglect negative impacts to the people who use drugs. Let's also have data, accurate data, qualitative data, not only in quantitative but qualitative data that improves the lives and the social well-being of the people who use drugs. Together, let's commit to these principles for a drug policy center on health, equity, and justice. I thank you.
We are coming to the end of this side event. As you can see, that Vienna NGO Committee on Drugs will always be a space to accommodate all different perspectives in drug policy. So everybody is more than welcome to contribute to our discussions, and we will remain the global platform for NGOs in different fields of drug policy and give the floor from different discussions and perspectives. So this is the main purpose of Vienna NGOC here in Vienna and also in other in other regions as well. And we are really glad that we are slowly building also our regional infrastructures. Like we established, we helped to establish African Civil Society platform on drugs. We connected well with the Americas Coalition on Drug Policy. We are partners also with the European Civil Society Forum on Drugs. And some of us are also members of this European Civil Society Forum on Drugs. So we are searching for even more opportunities for us to connect with different regions and different stakeholders and different policy and decision-making platforms or infrastructures to connect with to promote this multi-sectoral approach globally. So, and this side event, the purpose of this side event was to keep us talking about this, to keep this issue high on the political agenda and to promote multi-stakeholder approach in the future as well. So thank you very much for coming. Thank you. Okay, Rogers, please. Then I will close. So you're not closing the event. It's my responsibility.
No, just to appreciate the organization of this event, so that we are able to hear many voices coming from the world. I am part of the African Civil Society and the NGO Committee. The presentation he has made is a presentation of only a group of harm reduction. Surprisingly, he didn't balance it to bring in the prevention, those who don't support. So that is a small, tiny piece. Because the message in Africa is that we need to do more prevention. We need to protect young people. Of course, there are some who use, but that should not dominate the entire spectrum. So my humble appeal is that the message was not balanced. Africa really is in for prevention because the resources are not there, the facilities are not there. We cannot allow our young people to go for drugs. That's my humble balancing issue.
Okay, I would really like to ask you also, the whole African group, to sit together and discuss in your own group to come next time, that the next side event more balanced and with some consensus about the contribution. That's only my advice. So it's up to your group to discuss about this issue.
I think I'm not responding to him, but if you are keen, I said we need a balanced approach if he was keen listening. So yeah, I might not have, I have details in my presentation, only that I respected time. So we can meet and talk to my colleagues.
Good, that's the best possible conclusion out of it, to sit and meet and discuss. Thank you very much for coming, and I'll see you next year, next time.